Let's bring in Natia Seskuria, who's an Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute in Tbilisi. Appreciate your time, Natia. First of all, just take us through what you made of Vladimir Putin's address. Normally, it's a very somber tone, talking about lives that have been lost in the past. This time, it's a little bit more, we're under attack now.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, first of all. I think today, what we have seen today was a very modest display on the Red Square for 9th of May celebrations. We have seen that the victory parade was not as big, as grandiose as Russians have celebrated in the past. And when it comes to Putin's speech, I think there were much expected messages there. Of course, there was a reference that in terms of blaming the West in instigating the war in Ukraine, blaming NATO, of course. And Vladimir Putin needs this in order to make sure that Russian citizens still believe the lies that he has been selling to them for more than a year now. We have also heard that he made tribute to the lives that have been lost. But at the same time, I think much emphasis was on making sure that Russians understand that this war, according to Putin, was initiated by the West, and it has been dragged on because Putin is fighting not against the Ukrainian government and Ukrainian military, but against the whole of NATO.
Ursula von der Leyen in Kiev with the Ukrainian leader who was asking her to kind of expedite entry for Ukraine into the EU. The EU often makes noises as if that might happen, but progress seems quite slow. What do you make of her appearance there?
Yes, it is a very important visit, of course, both symbolically and in practical terms. Symbolically because, as we know, on the 9th of May, European Union celebrates peace and unity in Europe. And as we also know, the President Zelensky has proposed moving the World War II Victory Day celebrations a day earlier to May the 8th, and hence the 9th of May will be celebrated alongside the European Union as a Europe Day in Ukraine. But in practical terms, because of course the war is still ongoing, we see some of the brutal, massive attacks that Russia is still carrying out in Ukraine. And in that sense, it is very crucial that the practical support that the EU has been providing to Ukraine continues. The Brussels has already provided substantial military and financial support, but there is much that needs to be done. And of course, as you've highlighted, the European integration is very crucial for Ukraine, especially at this point when Ukraine is fighting this war against Russia. And the success on this path is slow, as we know, but Ukraine has already been given a candidacy status. The substantial negotiations are yet to begin, but hopefully the messages that Ursula von der Leyen has voiced today in Kiev means that there will be some progress on this path. And of course, it is highly important that the European unity remains Europe here remains as united as it has been throughout the past year and a half.
What's considered to be a key battle in Bakhmut continues. Remarkable comments that have been coming out in the past week or so from the head of the Wagner mercenary group, or paramilitary group, depending on how you look at it, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who as is very abnormal, has basically contradicted the Kremlin, has made accusations against them, and has painted a pretty dire picture in terms of the Russian efforts there on the battlefield. Do you believe the comments that he makes, and is the Russian effort there in a bit of disarray now? Is it sincere?
Well, it's indeed very extraordinary, the comments that we've been hearing from Yevgeny Prigozhin, and we see that even though he has been making these comments throughout the past couple of months, there is further escalation almost each month. And for example, today he has made quite critical comments, cynical comments as well, and it is quite significant that these comments were made on the Victory Day parade, Victory Day, when and which is so important for Moscow and for Putin personally, as we know. Prigozhin directly blames the Russian military and Russian military leadership in Moscow that they are not providing enough support for his fighters. He has accused them of not providing the much needed ammunition, and at the same time he has been making claims that he would leave Bakhmut if the substantial support is not provided to them. So this is quite important and significant, and it might mean and demonstrates that there is a very significant power struggle going on. Prigozhin is not attacking directly President Putin. That is also very significant. But for some time, we have been seeing the tendency that his attacks are directed to the military leadership, Shoigu and Valery Gerasimov. So this may mean that Prigozhin is also concerned about his survival, because he's trying to put the blame on the Russian military rather than Wagner Group. And as we know, all the deadlines have been passed in terms of taking Bakhmut. Wants to place the blame on the Russian military and make it clear that Wagner Group is doing his best when it comes to taking Bakhmut.
Natia, great to get your views. Natia Seskuria, my guest from the Royal United Services Institute in Tbilisi. Appreciate it.